Hey yo, what's good y'all? It's Stinger looking greasy as ever, and today I'm going to be showing each and every one of you how you can make some custom hats and open hats using Serum. Now this may potentially be the conclusion to my sound design series. I'm still kind of debating if I want to do a percussion tutorial since that's kind of more self-explanatory and I've already covered how to make rims in a previous video. But if you guys do want to see a percussion tutorial, then I will be more than happy to provide. But if you've watched the channel before, you know how we are. We don't do any kind of dilly-dallying, any kind of hoopla, so let's just get right into it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to go over are hi-hats. And the first step to creating a hi-hat is to disable all the oscillators and enable the noise. This is because hi-hats and open hats don't have any kind of tonal qualities. It is all noise. The next thing we're going to do after that is we're going to adjust our envelope. And to start that off, we're going to take this point at the top right and just bring it all the way down so that the envelope is super skinny. Now, depending on what you want your hi-hat to sound like, you can go ahead and adjust the decay to your liking. So I'm liking how it sounds at around 55 milliseconds. Now, the next step for creating a hi-hat is going to be applying a filter within Serum. So we're going to go ahead and enable the filter, and we're going to switch this from the default MG low 12 to some kind of high pass filter. And now you may see here that there's nothing showing up for the filter, and that is because we have it set so that the filter is affecting only oscillator A, which as you'll remember is disabled. So we're going to go ahead and switch it off on oscillator A and enable it on the noise. And now I'm just going to bring the cutoff up by a little bit. This makes it so that there's minimal low end properties in the hi-hat. And then next I'm just going to boost the resonance a little bit as well as the drive. So this is what our hi-hat is sounding like now. Now, we already have a pretty good basis. This in itself could pass as like a drill hi-hat in some kind of drill drum kit. But we're gonna throw on a couple of effects to make the sound a little bit more subtle and a little bit more authentic. The first of those effects is gonna be an EQ taking out a ton of those lows. Now, like I said, it's all dependent on the sound that you want to achieve. That's what's great about sound design. There's really no limits. But I wanted to stick with that classic high, bright hi-hat sound. So I have it completely cutting out those lows and mids, and I have around a 7 decibel boost in the high ends. Now, to make the hi-hat even more bright and airy, I decided to throw on fresh air and boost the mid air and the high air by a little bit. And now, if you've watched my previous sound design tutorials, you'll know what effect I'm going to use next. And that is Soothe 2. Soothe 2 is basically a dynamic resonance suppressor, meaning it just takes out and tames some harsh frequencies. And for me, when making drum kits, that is integral because I want every single drum sound to be usable. I don't want people to hear a killer clap and hear like some super high-end tingy frequency and then just be like, well, that's a cool drum sound, but like it has this problem, so I'm not going to use it. So to ensure that all drum sounds are pleasing to the ear, I throw down Soothe 2 on literally everything. And then I forgot to go over this, but you could change the noise sound within Serum, and I decided to use the Alpha NZ as opposed to the basic AC hum. So without any of effects, this is what the hat sounded like, and this is what it sounds like with the effects. And boom, that's how you make hi-hats. And because of how little you have to do in order to make this sound, there's a lot of room for you to make some really experimental sounding hi-hats. But yeah, now that we've gone over hi-hats, let's go over open hats. All right, so just like the hi-hats, the first thing we're gonna do is disable oscillator A and enable the noise. Now within this noise section, I'm gonna do a couple of different things. First, I'm gonna change the sound of the noise to the bright white noise. I personally just like how that sounds. And then I'm gonna increase the pitch of the noise to give it a much more high and bright property. And then finally, I'm gonna take the level and put it somewhere near the center. So this is what that sounds like. Yeah, as you can tell, it doesn't really sound much like an open hat. And to change that, we're going to need to adjust this LFO. Firstly, we're going to set it to envelope mode and disable BPM. And then we're going to make a shape that allows the sound to have a constant volume for a brief period of time and then fade out. So to do that, we're going to drag this middle point all the way to the left, create a new point and drag it all the way up. And then we're going to take this center point and make it curved. Next, we're going to take this LFO and route it to the level of the noise. Next, we're going to go into the matrix and make the type go back and forth. And then we're going to adjust the LFO level so that it takes up the entire knob. And then also regarding the LFO, we're going to turn down the rate a little bit. So this is what that sounds like so far. As you can tell, we have the general idea of open hat, but it still just doesn't sound right. And to fix that, yet again, we're going to be using this filter within Serum. Yet again, we're going to disable it on oscillator A and enable it on the noise. And for this, I'm actually going to be using a band pass filter. And then just like the hi-hats, we're going to adjust the cutoff so that it takes out the majority of the lows, boost the resonance by a little bit, and increase the drive. So this is what that sounds like now. Now we're finally getting somewhere. And the final thing that I like to do within Serum is going to be adjusting the envelope. And all I'm going to do is take the sustain all the way down and then adjust the decay to my liking. So I'm liking how it sounds at around 1 second. And by making use of this envelope, we're giving the sound a much more subtle fade out. Whereas if we were just using the LFO, it would sound super abrupt because of this change. So that's all we need to do within Serum, but let's hop into FL Studio to throw down some effects. And for open hats, I really only throw down 2 effects. The first is going to be an EQ, yet again, just cutting out those lows and boosting the highs. And second, obviously, is going to be Soothe 2. So without the effects, this is what it sounded like. And with the effects, this is what it sounds like. Now, what I just covered is literally just the basics of making hi-hats and open hats. But if you want your sounds to be super unique, you can drag in all types of noises into the noise section. And you could also play around with a ton of creative effects like bit crushers, phasers, flangers, all this kind of weird stuff. Because at the end of the day, even if your drums are custom in your drum kit, you want them to stand out. But yeah, with that being said, that is going to pretty much cover how to make hi-hats and open hats using Serum. I thoroughly hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned something new. If you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the comments down below. I know I moved a little bit fast. Also consider joining my Patreon where I post the FLPs to all of my beats in all of my videos. That way, if you wanted to study the arrangement, the mixing, the mastering, all that kind of stuff, it's right at your fingertips. And for this sound design series, I'm actually posting all the Serum presets for all of the sounds I go over. So if I moved a little bit too fast in this video for you, you have all the time in the world to analyze the Serum presets. And finally, consider subscribing as I post 1 tutorial a week and 2 sound kits a month. Other than that, that's going to be it. Peace.